Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is my second video lecture of social science. So we are going to continue with our first chapter, power sharing. So in last class we had studied about two stories from Belgium and from Sri Lanka. We were going to study how we had understood about how the ethnic diversity is there, and we were going to study how power sharing were done in these two countries in order to accommodate the country. So let's further going with the slides, but before that let's just do an activity. Just imagine that you are one of the nominee of your CR elections. You need to gain 60% of the votes in order to get elected as CR. The class strength is 40 and 30 students share same interest as yours. Suppose you like football, so other 29 students also like football. Only one of either music or sports period can be allotted to your class, and you like sports. The elected CR can choose the activity to be allotted. So how will you appease your classmates to gain their vote, enact a role like a politician? So now you must think like, if you want to be a politician or you want to gain votes from your classmates, so how will you appease them? What are rules, or what are things you will bring into rules so that they become your friends and they vote you? So you can think in that, and you can write a role play and in the comment box. Further, let's continue with the slides. Here you can see majoritism in Sri Lanka. As we all know that how in Sri Lanka there was huge diversity was there, and ethnic communities were there in the Sri Lanka, as well as based on the language they speak. Like, peoples in Sri Lanka used to speak Sinhalese, that is yellow region shows the people speaking Sinhali language. Sri Lankan Tamils is shown in orange color. These are the people who used to speak Sri Lankan Tamils. And Indian Tamils whose ancestors were plantation workers and came to Sri Lanka for doing plantation work during the British period. They are known as Indian Tamils, and that is shown in the brown color. And the dotted uh, area is Muslim communities. So this was the ethnic diversity of Sri Lanka. So let's understand now what is majoritism and how this had impacted in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka got independence in 1948. So Sri Lankan Independence Day in Sri Lanka got independence in 1948. So here at that time, so here majority was Sinhali speaking group. These are in majority. Sought to secure dominance over government by virtue of their majority. So since Sinhali people were in majorities, so most of the people were from Sinhala Sinhali speaking group, and they were in majority. Then they thought that they among themselves will elect one person or elect the government based on the majority. And this process of keeping in mind the majority people and about their benefits, and this process of making government is called majoritism. When we think about the majority people, so this process is called majoritism. So if we go with the definition, majoritism is a belief that majority community should be able to rule the country in whichever way it wants by disregarding the wishes and needs of minorities. So I would like to ask, what do you think? Majoritism is a good concept by itself or not? Because in this, by definition only, we come to know that majoritism is a concept where only majority community is taken care of and their wants, their demands is being taken care of, disregarding the fact that minorities also has their need, also has their wishes. Okay, so in actual, like in India, quota is there. Minority people are the ones who get benefit of those quotas, so that they are uplifted and they are all their wishes also get fulfilled. So this is this, but in Sri Lanka the concept was very different. They mainly focused on majority people. So let's see what happened after that. Before going up further, if you have listened the lecture properly, you must be knowing the answer. When did Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country? So the options are 1956, 1948, 1950 or 1947. You can write your answer in the chat box. I'll be giving you 20 seconds. Okay, hope you must have written the answer. Let's continue with the further slides. Steps taken to establish Sinhala supremacy. Now, as we know that in Sri Lanka they adopted the concept of majoritism. Now, let's see what all the things that they have making a rule or taken the steps to establish their supremacy. The first thing they did was, in 1956, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language, thus disregarding Tamil. So, as we had seen previously also, in Sri Lanka there were different ethnic groups based on the language, but since Sinhalese were the majority, were in majority, so in 1956 they had taken one step. They have made an act called as only Sinhala as the only official language. So they totally disregarded that Tamil people is also there. We should consider their language also. Instead of that being on majority, they just took Sinhala as the only official language. The second step that they had taken was the government followed preferences policies that favored Sinhala applicants for university position and government job. Like in India also, there are there are benefits given to the minority people. There is quota for the in the university in government jobs also, so that the minorities also are able to uplift and get a good life. But in Sri Lanka case, in majoritism, the things were vice versa. Here all the policies and all the benefit preferences were given to Sinhali applicants, Sinhali people, and they were given quotas or beneficials on the university and getting admission in university and getting a government job. So they were the one who used to get preferences. The third thing was, a new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect the foster Buddhism. Since Sinhali people used to follow Buddhism, so mostly they said that we'll protect our religion. Uh, Instead of and leaving the fact that there are other communities also, other religion also, despite of that fact they just wanted to protect Buddhism, because majority community, the Sinhali, used to follow Buddhism. So now these were the steps taken by the Sinhali in order to establish Sinhala supremacy. Okay, so now let's see what was the impact of all this. But before going that, let's answer one question. Sinhala only act was established in which year? So if you have listened the lecture, you must be knowing Sinhala only act was established in which year? 1956, 1948, 1950 and 1947. You can write your answer in the chat box. 20 minutes, 20 seconds time. I hope you must have written the answer in the chat box. Let's continue further. So now let's see what was the impact of the step taken to establish Sinhala supremacy. All these government measures increased the feeling of alteration among the Sri Lankan Tamils. That is, they felt suppressed. Okay, they felt suppressed and uh, they felt we are, what about us, they are just thinking about themselves. So this was the impact. Other than this, they felt that the Buddhist Sinhala leaders were not sensitive to their language and culture. Here, since Sinhala people only wanted to foster Buddhism, they felt, Sri Lankan Tamils felt, other communities felt, what about our culture? What about our language? This also should be taken into condition, and this should also be uh, or this should also be brought up. They felt, the third was, they felt that the constitution and the government policies denied them equal political rights. Now, since we had read previously that all the policies, preferences, quotas, everything was given to the majority peoples, minorities were not taken into considerations. So they said, they felt that the constitution and the government policies denied them equal political rights. They felt that their rights is being taken. The third is discriminated against them is getting jobs and other opportunities in, and ignored their interest, discriminated against them in getting good jobs and other opportunities, and ignored. Let's see the impact of the step taken to establish Sinhala supremacy. All these government measures increased the feeling of alteration among the Sri Lankan Tamils. So Sri Lankan Tamils now felt left out, that what about us? They are just taking care, the government is just taking care about themselves, about their community. What about others? What about us? This next impact was, they felt that Buddhist Sinhala leaders were not sensitive to their language and culture, since they said that they'll foster, the majority community said that they will foster Buddhism, since they used to follow Buddhist religion. Then the uh, other community peoples, they felt left out. They felt that since Sinhalas are only taking care of Buddhism, Buddhist community, now what about us? What about our religion, our culture? This should also be given importance, equal importance and equal opportunities. They felt that the constitution and government policies denied them equal political rights. They felt that since all the policies, all the pleasures were given to the majority community, so now even the other community people, minorities also wanted equal political rights, discriminated against them in getting jobs and other opportunities and ignored their interest. Now, since Sinhalas were in power, they discriminated the minorities in getting the job, in giving them equal opportunities, and even ignored in their interest, what they liked, what they disliked. They totally ignored the minority communities. Now let's see what was the result. As a result, the relation between the Srinhalas and Tamil community stained as as there as in the country we had studied, there were different communities. The majorities were Sinhalas, the minorities were Tamil and Indian Tamil and Sri Lankan Tamils, and even Muslim. They were in minorities. Now, since Sinhala only took interest about their community, about themselves, the other communities felt left out, and this created a strain on the government, on the country itself. Now let's see what had happened after that. The Sri Lankan Tamils, reaction of Sri Lankan Tamils. Now, as we had seen, they felt left out. Now let's see what the steps they had taken. What was the reaction of minorities, the Sri Lankan Tamils? The Sri Lankan Tamils launched parties and struggled for the recognition of Tamil as an official language for regional autonomy and equality of opportunity in securing education and job. So now, Sri Lankan Tamil said, since they are having their own government, we are also going to launch our own parties, and for recognition we want to launch our own parties so that even our language, our religions, our people are getting equal opportunity, equal job, equal education. The next, by 1980s, several political organizations were formed demanding an independent Tamil Elam in northern and eastern part of the Sri Lanka. Since we had seen that most of the Tamil speaking people were in the northern and the eastern part of the Sri Lanka, in 1980 they created their party and they demanded that we want a separate country for ourselves, and it was named as Tamil Elam. The third was the distrust between the two communities turned into widespread conflict. Now, since there are two parties, there are two communities, now this created the conflict, and conflict in the community itself, in the country itself, and then this leads to civil war. Now let's understand what is civil war. Whenever there is any war inside the country for any reason, it is known as civil war. Let's go by the definition. The civil war has caused a So, what was the impact of the Civil War? The Civil War has caused a terrible setback to the social, cultural, and economic life of the country. Whenever there is war in a country, the country economy is disturbed, their culture is disturbed, everything is disturbed. So, since we had read that there was a civil war, that is war inside the country itself between the two parties, between the two communities, and because of this led to terrible setback to the social, cultural, and economic life of the country. Okay, now you can see a picture. So this is the picture of Raghavan, who was the head of the Tamil Elam, and after some time this Tamil Elam was turned uh, into mm, a terrorist community, uh, connecting with the terrorist persons. Now further, if you have listened, if you have understood the concept, let's answer this question. Anti-national people are also known as dash, and the second is civil war of Sri Lanka ended in dash year. So you can write both the answers in the chat box. We'll give you 20-second time. Quickly write the answer. Okay, I hope the time is enough. Let's continue further. So today we had studied about majoritism, was how majoritism was practiced in Sri Lanka. The government only focused on the majority community. Then we had discussed about what was the impact of establishing Sinhala supremacy after the majoritism was practiced, what was the impact of that, and then thirdly we had discussed what was civil war. That is, whenever a war happens within the country, it is known as civil war. So you can have the homework. This is your homework. If you were given the power, would you change majoritarian concept of Sri Lanka? If yes, why? So did you like the concept of majoritism, or would you like to change it? If yes, then why? The second is, list out the ways in which power sharing could have been done in Sri Lanka to avoid civil war. So that's all from my side. Thank you all. Have a good day.